Platinum, one of the best titles in the Pokemon series, and an embarrassingly trash rank in League of Legends. I've never actually played that game, so I don't know what that means. This is a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Platinum using only fighting types like the Incredible Hulk and Punchy Onion Diaper Baby. As all good Gen 4 games do, we start our journey in Twinleaf Town, where I meet my rival Goober and my mom Joanna. Kinda weird they named this character after the monitor lizard from the Rescuers Down Under, but hey, north of Twinleaf Town, I get to choose my very first Pokemon, Chimchar. And yes, I know that Chimchar's not a fighting type until he evolves into Monferno at level 14, but he'll have to do until we can get another encounter. Brilliantly, the first thing that my new friend does as a member of the team is die to a stupid, worthless ball of penguin garbage that serves no purpose other than to waste the time of everyone and everything around him. Look, Nuzlocks typically don't start until you've acquired your first Pokeball, and the first rival fight is largely why that rule exists in the first place, so I'll be implementing it here. Welcome back to the land of the living, Adonis. Don't do that again. Just look at the fire in young Donnie's eyes. I can tell how much that first loss ignited a passion, maybe even a hatred in his heart. Adonis wanted revenge, and he's ready to move heaven and earth to get it. Nothing short of becoming the ultimate fighting champion of the Sinnoh League will satiate his hunger. But in order to do that, we're gonna need some help. So on the Rocky Route 207, we recruit the perfect ally to join our budding team, Machop the Superpower Pokemon. And with a classification like that, he's gotta have a powerful nickname, something real intimidating. Mark. Welcome to the team, buddy. As Adonis transforms from babiness into an awkward teenage monkey, we now have two fighting types ready to conquer our first challenge of the run, Rourke. And calling the coal miner a challenge is a bit generous. He opens with the Geodude as I send in Mark. And this matchup, a Machop, if you will, goes exactly as you'd expect, with two Karate Chops shattering the defensively bulky foe and provoking Rourke into sending out his ace, Cranidos. In some difficulty hacks, this guy gets Zen Headbutt and can rip through any fighting types you might bring, but here in regular old vanilla Platinum, Cranidos is equipped with Leer and regular Headbutt. Don't get me wrong though, after Cranidos drops my defense once and survives our Karate Chop, I'm definitely a bit nervous that the potential of a critical hit will one-shot Mark, so I quickly swap into Adonis, who spares us any ambiguity about surviving the attack, and then his Mach Punch is more than enough to drop the Rocky Dino Toddler on the next turn. All that remains then is the classic overgrown Rock Snake, who Mark drop kicks for the dub as we acquire the very first gym badge. Our next major boss battle is against Mars in Pally Windworks, but she kinda just flops. Her best Pokemon is an obese cat who we punch right in the face, so that's all I have to say about that. And hey, questionable violence against animals aside, we did save this scientist, who after being reunited with his little girl, is immediately told to shower. Kids say just the darndest things. They have so much imagination and curiosity in those little noggins of theirs. And as we all slowly float down the ever-flowing river of time, it becomes more and more important to hold on to that childlike thirst for knowledge. Which is why I'm a huge fan of the sponsor of this video, Boot.dev. How was that for a sponsorship segue? Not your worst. I like the boat. Boot.dev is a coding platform that uses modern game design and hands-on lessons to teach you how to become a master programmer. Each lesson is extremely well thought out and clearly prioritizes maintaining your focus and interest with fun examples, game-based mechanics like quests and achievements, and high-quality videos that are more than someone reading a PowerPoint into the worst quality mic you've ever heard. Boot.dev is easily the coolest teaching platform I've used, which is why I really wanted to partner with them again after our previous sponsorship. I genuinely believe that Boot.dev is a great resource for people who want to become professional programmers and for lifelong learners who just want to learn a new skill. Did somebody say skill? Whoa, who is that? Oh, don't worry about that. That's just a reference from before your time. Before my time? Boot.dev is always iterating and adding new features like the Training Ground, a place where you can grind infinite challenges challenges to give you as much practice as you need before moving forward with more challenging coursework. And if you're not convinced by my endorsement, all of Boot.dev's content is free to read and watch in guest mode, and you can even demo the interactive features. So I absolutely encourage you to head to Boot.dev and try it out for yourself. Then, if you like what you see, you can use my code FLAGONHG to get 25% off your entire first year by choosing the annual plan. Thanks so much to Boot.dev for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the challenge. Back in Floroma Town, I embark on this challenge's most excruciatingly painful trial, the Honey Tree Hunt. For centuries, young boys and girls have attempted the annual HTH as a rite of passage into adulthood, and very few have succeeded. Many give up from frustration, others perish from exhaustion. One year, a boy was driven mad and ran off into the woods, never to be seen from again, said to still be on the hunt all these years later. See, the HTH has one goal: find a Heracross. A seemingly easy task until you realize that Heracross has a painfully low chance of showing up in any given tree, and each attempt at checking a honey tree requires waiting 6 hours. With just 3 trees within reach, the HTH can last for days, weeks, months. It can continue into the cold nights of the winter, like it did in 1931, when 7 competitors froze to death waiting for their trees to attract the elusive bug. The HTH is a ruthless game of chance and resilience, but it was my only way forward, and I was prepared to search trees for as long as it took. But as the days went by and I was faced with monkey after monkey, bug after bug, I began to lose hope. I began to wonder if I would ever escape this honey tree prison. The once sweet-smelling air slowly began to feel suffocating, filling my lungs like a syrupy toxin. I began to lose my mind. Who was I before the HTH? Was there even anything at all before the HTH? Or is this all life has ever been? Monkey, bug, bug, monkey, monkey, bug, bug, monkey. Time had lost meaning. Existence was but a series of encounters, each as meaningless as the last. I was but moments away from utter mental exhaustion, seconds from following in the footsteps of that boy and becoming enveloped by the alluring forest's warm embrace. But then, there he was. A beautiful blue beetle. I was saved. With but a single ball, it was over. I had won the honeypot hunt, and I was finally free. Jesus wept. With our new teammate Jake, I make my way to Eterna City, where to the east I find our third encounter, Meditite, whose level 37 evolution is a ways away, and going to be limited on the useful front even if and when he eventually gets there. But hey, welcome to the team, Daniel. We're one step closer to a full squad of 6. In order to completely fill out our roster spots, though, I'm gonna need another badge, so it's time for us to face off against Gardenia. And her team is pretty strong for the early game, with her ace Roserade being one of the highest base stat total Pokemon owned by a second gym leader in the entire series. But we do have 2 things going for us in this battle. First, our starter is a fire type, and this is a grass type gym, so when Turtwig, who should be a Grotle by now, opens against Adonis, I feel comfortable flame wheeling a couple times to deal significant damage. Unfortunately, with Reflect setup, I don't want to knock this Turtwig out and allow either Cherim or Roserade to come in and inherit that defense boost, so I swap to our second advantage, Jake. Jake is just stronger than most early and mid-game Pokemon, using Brick Break here to clear the Turtwig and bust through the Reflect, before then ripping an Aerial Ace for nearly 75% of Cherim's HP. Our foe does fire off a Leech Seed, which prompts me to bring Adonis back in for the knockout, but after Roserade nearly faints to a single Flame Wheel, recovering a bit of HP with her Berry, I once again bring out Mr. Lamada, absorb a hit from Magical Leaf, and tank a second one en route to a slashing Aerial Ace finish. With badge number 2 in hand, thanks to the strongest 2 Pokemon on our team, our journey lives to see another day. The next step in our adventure is clearing out the Galactic headquarters, where Adonis and Jake team up once more to blitz both Zubat and Skuntank, saving Eterna City from the evil group they had rented out an entire building to. Is this the first time in the Pokemon series that the evil team hideout is just, like, in plain sight, clearly permitted by the city to be there? Who in Eterna City is vetting these long-term leases? Anyways, on Route 208, we catch our 5th member of the team, a male Ralts, whose final form Gallade will be anxiously awaited for now, now, since I don't get my hands on a Dawnstone until a bit later in the playthrough. Nevertheless, my 4 current teammates and I head to Hearthome City, where we have the privilege of facing off against maybe the hardest gym leader in this challenge, Fantina. Not only are we unable to hit every one of her ghost-type Pokemon with our stab fighting moves, but her ace Mismagius is locked and loaded with the most brutal weapon of the fight, a super effective Psybeam. I'm gonna need to get a little creative and even more lucky to win this battle. Everything has to go perfectly. Jake is my opening against Fantina's Duskull, and right away my plan is off to a great start as Fantina chooses to go for a Will-O-Wisp. This burn boosts Jake's attack by 50% thanks to his Guts ability. Sure, we take a bit of damage at the end of every turn, but since Jake also happens to be faster than Fantina's next Pokemon, Haunter, he's now in the prime position to face off against Mismagius. Except against her, we're not faster, not even close. And while Mismagius doesn't use Psybeam, she does go for a Confuse Ray, which has the potential to be much, much worse. What, you thought I didn't prepare for this? Of course I gave Jake a Person Berry to stop Confuse Ray. And with our snack consumed, I now get to steal Mismagius' Citrus Berry before she has the chance to gain back some HP, as our burn brings my bug down to 2 HP above where I need to be to eat the Citrus Berry. Great, that was almost beautiful, but now Jake has to dodge just 1 crit as Psybeam comes out. And that's exactly what happens. Jake survives with 17 HP, consumes his stolen Citrus Berry, and sends Fantina's Mismagius to her grave for good. The 3rd gym badge is ours. This new token of our success means that we get to add Machoke to the team, who probably isn't gonna do a ton, but hey, in the next rival battle, Mark takes down a couple of opponents, and by a couple, I mean Staravia. Mark's no-guard ability means that he's able to ensure hits with Rock Tomb, even through shoddy base accuracy and potential double-team setups, though Goober opts for pure offense before we get the kill. Mr. Kerr doesn't have what it takes to take on Prinplup though, so Jake has to save his ass, but at least our Tidy Whitey King did something after back-to-back splits of bench warming. Couldn't be little LaRusso though, that's for sure. Unfortunately, boffing the bird is going to be the end of Mark's participation for quite some time. Approaching Maylene, there's no justifiable reason to have him out in battle, or anyone else not named Jake for that matter. In fact, our blue bug dices through Maylene's Metatite, Machoke, and Lucario in one of the most focused, dazzling performances we've seen so far. And this victory means a few things. First, a new badge means we can travel to new places and uncover cool items like a Dawnstone in this giant pile of mud on Route 212. So welcome to the team, Mickey the Gallade. Second though, this same route grants us access to a Krogunk who I name Billy. Third is that we also get access to this move tutor who kindly teaches our starter both Fire and Thunder Punch. Adonis also learns Close Combat before evolving into his true ultimate form, Infernape. And he's not alone, as both Daniel and Billy evolve into their final forms as well. Nearing the full strength of our roster, we begin the aquatic showdown for the 5th gym badge against Crasher Wake. I open with Adonis, whose job is to deal with the Intimidate and bait out a water move as I switch into our newest teammate equipped with the extremely useful ability Dry Skin. Billy moves first on the following turn and fries the fish with a single Thunder Punch, so Wake shows us Quagsire next, whose immunity to electric moves is definitely supposed to scare us here. Little does our foe know that I have him all figured out. I swap Mickey in on a Yawn, and you might be thinking, Flygon, don't attack, you're gonna fall asleep. And you're right, but I send a Leaf Blade anyways, drowning Wooper's ugly older brother. This allows me to demonstrate one of the more niche, intricate Pokemon strategies in Nuzlocke. Holding a Chesto Berry to wake up when you fall asleep. Yeah, that's right, here we swim as if we never took a hit at all. Floatzel now on the floor splashes a mean crunch our way, but we ride the current with Leaf Blade once more, eviscerating the Weasel and collecting our 5th gym badge. Is Mickey the greatest Pokemon of all time? Maybe. I will say that between Mickey, Jake, and Adonis, I feel really good about our team as we head north towards Celestic Town. We give a couple ducks some painkillers and yap with Cynthia for a moment, moment, receiving an old charm to give to her grandma. Once in Celestic Town, we discover Team Galactic guarding the cave entrance and Cyrus causing trouble inside of it. Neither of those battles are difficult, so Grandma and Cynthia give us some information as we continue on our journey. Hey, wait a minute, if Cynthia was gonna be in Celestic Town anyways, why did I have to be the one to deliver the charm to her grandma? Seems like a bit of a power play on Cynthia's part, or maybe she just really hates her grandma. Anyways, a quick, legitimate, and very real trade to Uncle Jimtendo evolves Mark into Machamp. I like to think that here, Mark tenderly carries me in a warm four-armed embrace as we make our way to Canalave City. Once there though, we again meet up with Goober for the first of the franchise's countless bridge fights. What's with Pokemon rivals and bridges? Regardless, this fight also happens to be one of the more challenging rival fights in the entire series, so I counter that by not preparing for it really at all. I named him Goober. What's he gonna do to my now fully evolved squad of powerful fighters and Daniel? Well, turns out that the answer to that question is a hell of a lot. I open with Mark against Goober's lead Staraptor, hoping that he'd be safe to execute the same strategy I used for when our foe was a Staravia. But the giant duck hits an aerial ace for 72 damage, meaning that Mark was immediately dead to a critical hit. So my Rock Tomb play was absolutely not safe to execute, and this turn 1 tells me that the rest of this fight is gonna be tough. Hoping that Cross Chop is now enough to get the kill from this range, I stay in, though Staraptor survives with a sliver, letting him rip a nasty second aerial ace. But by dodging another critical hit, Mark can take the KO on the next turn. This brings in Empoleon second, who also has aerial ace, though I'm more concerned with his powerful bubble beams, so I send out Daniel, possibly for the first time ever, and with a few force palms, he successfully packs up the penguin, which means that third is Heracross, who also has aerial ace, which he uses to nail Adonis on the switch for a significant chunk. Thankfully, Adonis is faster and stronger, blistering the bug in one breath with a fire punch. With Rapidash now in, I switch to Mickey, who's thankfully able to cut through both the horse and the malevolent Rose with a flurry of Psycho Cuts. So this wasn't as clean as literally every other fight of the playthrough so far, but we've won the Canalave rival fight, and now we're off to Iron Island. There we meet Riley, who bestows upon us the HM for strength and invites us to join him inside for a bout of training. Usually I don't cover random trainers as I document my adventures, but here I do find myself in a horrible 2v1 against a pair of ace trainers who have managed to kill Riley's Lucario and crit Mickey with a nasty high jump kick. Even with a Citrus Berry, another critical hit will kill Mickey, but I can't afford to switch on a double up, especially with Staraptor threatening super effective flying type damage. But surely Medicham doesn't crit twice in a row, right? So Ice Punch clocks the bird, and I brace for Medicham's next high jump kick, which misses. This is the break I need as Jake takes the stage, dices up Medicham with an aerial ace, and then ultimately also takes out the Hippopotas to win us the battle. Close call, but we remain deathless. Having now successfully helped Riley through the tunnels of Iron Island, he tosses me an egg, which I catch and promise to cherish as my final fighting type encounter.
Vigorous egg hatching sequence.
Alright, James joins the team, and with a little time and friendship, we evolve our new friend into the incredible Lucario. And oh, the things that a Lucario can do to a 7th gym leader with no special defense. I mean, poor Byron doesn't get a single attack off as James executes a clean sweep for badge number 6. And this is the point in the game where the story really picks up, with Team Galactic making their big stand at destroying the current world and creating a Cyrus-led dictatorship through the vessels of Dialga and Palkia. You know, the usual. I just don't know how they thought Saturn's Toxicroak or Mars's Purugly was gonna stand up against anything. It's not like I have to even get creative for these fights either. They just roll over like Poppy when it's time for belly rubs. Still, Team Galactic isn't done yet, but I need the HM for Rock Climb to make any more progress. So first I have to trek through the snowy fields of Sinnoh to face off against She Who Shall Not Be Named. The 7th gym leader opens with Sneasel, and I open with Adonis. Guys, gals, and my non-binary imaginary pals, I will not lie to you here. This was a train wreck for our opponent. She does not get off a single attack as Infernate proceeds to one-shot Sneasel, Piloswine, and then critically Frostlass before the snow-setting 44th president. Without the hail, Frostlass's Snow Cloak ability isn't active and she therefore doesn't stand a chance against our spexed up monkey. One last tap against Barak and that's an easy dub. Thank you for badge number 7. This means we only have one badge to go as I start to wonder whether anyone in the entire Sinnoh region could be a worthy adversary for my powerhouse of a team. I could feel them getting bored and restless. They deserved a real challenge. A true test of their power, not these glorified sacks of flour with targets painted on them. And if anyone outside of the trainers at the Pokemon League was gonna do it, it would be Cyrus, who's also about to open up a portal to a new dimension, which is probably worth putting a stop to. Before that though, I have to face off against Mars and Jupiter with a heroic assist from Goober. Are we sure we don't want to wait for Cynthia to show up? No? We're going with the guy who leads with a Munchlax? Okay, cool. With Mickey out against our foe's lead Bronzors, the best thing to do in a multi-battle is target down one side and worry about the other later when it's a 2v1. So I start by clearing Mars's team on the right since her Bronzong has Reflect instead of Light Screen. The Iron Disc falls to a single Fire Punch, which I then follow up with 2 more Okos as a Drain Punch kills Perugly and a Psycho Cut kills Golbat. What's both great and awful about this is that literally nothing else happens around me during this sequence. Jupiter's Bronzong was useless, but even more so is Goober's Munchlax, who's just an absolute waste of space. So out of spite, I punch him right in the face. Mickey's fist pops Munchlax's head like a balloon full of jelly. The sight and the sound of it is enough to make even those with the strongest of fortitude keel over like a seasick private during the storm of the century. But with Goober free from the mediocre shackles of his Munchlax, he can now truly participate in the double up against Saturn's team, leading to a swift and easy victory. And though our foes were not victorious, they were able to stall us long enough for Cyrus to open that pesky little portal. So with the conveniently tardy Cynthia by our side, we dive in headfirst to stop the big bad from harnessing the power of the almighty Giratina. Unfortunately, in order to navigate the Distortion World, we do need the HM for Surf, which none of my teammates can learn, so... Don't ask questions. It takes a little while, but eventually we catch up with Cyrus and face off against him for the final time. As he leads with Houndoom, I send in James, who outspeeds Houndoom and takes the kill with a close combat just fine. Gyarados comes in second, dropping our attack with a mean Intimidate. Baiting Earthquake, I switch to Jake, who resists the hit before pivoting back to James on a Waterfall, thereby resetting the attack drop and ensuring the clean KO with a Thunder Punch. This then conveniently brings in Haunchcrow, who crumbles to a Black Belt boosted close combat before he can rip what would be a truly terrifying Drill Peck. With that though, Cyrus's scariest teammate comes out next. Crobat. The super speedy terror quad resists our fighting type moves, and the ability to cause flinches with Air Slash makes him all the more dangerous. I try to Thunder Punch, but Cyrus nails us with a Confuse Ray, resulting in a massive amount of damage as James hits himself in confusion. Sadly, this guy ain't the brightest bulb at Home Depot, so we gotta get him out of there. I bring in Mickey, who's been a tank all run, and he comfortably survives an Air Slash thanks to a solid special defense stat. So now, he just needs to dodge a critical hit. But Cyrus clicks Toxic. What a generational Duke level throw. Psycho Cut clean kills Crobat, so now only Weavile remains. Adonis takes over for Mickey, and a priority Mach Punch slams Weavile for every last drop of his HP. Not even Cyrus was able to so much as dent our team. We were on top of the world, and it was clear. There was nothing that could stop us from becoming champions of the Sinnoh League. In Sunny Shore City, we face off against the final gym leader, and like all the others not named Fantina, Volkner 2 is barely a passing thought, a fart in the wind if you will. Gone as quickly as he arrives, with Adonis's Earthquake sending all of his Pokemon to their sad little graves. Well, actually Volkner's Luxray, who conveniently comes out last, is strong enough to survive a hit, and not wanting to get crit by a Thunderfang, I first use U-turn bringing in Jake to dance through the lightning strikes. He also conveniently baits Firefang, allowing for a safe switch back to Adonis, who now thanks to the assist from himself can safely get the KO with an Earthquake. Donnie to Donnie, best combo in the game, baby. GG Volkner, you fought well. Not that well, though. Most of your Pokemon just, died. But with that, there's only one more quarrel to be had before we enter the Pokemon League. A final showdown against Goober. I open with James to eat the Intimidate drop and bait a close combat from Staraptor, allowing for a resisted switch into Mickey, who proceeds to obliterate Goober's entire team. Thunder Punch, Psycho Cut crit, that one probably mattered. Close combat, Psycho Cut, close combat. The stakes of this battle may not have been that high, as there were plenty of tools in my back pocket if things had gone wrong, but what a show by one of our team staples this late into the run. As promised, that was the ultimate obstacle before the Elite Four, and with only 7 encounters, our options are limited, but boy do we have a handful of strong teammates. We've got Adonis, our beloved expert belt wielding starter, who opened this attempt by dying in humiliating fashion to a Piplup and has spent the rest of it overcompensating with sweep after sweep. There's also Mark, who's been a little trash after helping out with the first gym, but he does have 4 arms, and that alone is enough to qualify for the final team. Third is Jake, whose hot streak cooled off a bit after Maylene, but still provides some incredibly useful utility with his secondary bug typing. I've also pre-burned him for the Guts boost, which will ensure big damage when needed. Fourth is Mickey, whose real prowess has come from his immense coverage portfolio, being our only grass-type attacker for long stretches of the game, and striking hard with Psycho Cut and close combat in the process. Fifth is James, who provides a unique typing and is the only one of our teammates that can comfortably use special attacks if needed. And then there's Daniel, who in addition to being last, is certainly least. I mean, I guess he cleared the Grunt and Celestic Town all by himself. Look, I only have 7 options, and LaRusso is marginally better than... what was the Toxicroak's name again? Right, Billy. He's better than Billy, probably. So with that, let's see if these 6, who have all been largely free of any adversity, have what it takes to become champions of the Pokemon League. Surely it'll be just as easy up to the very end. Against Aaron, I use Adonis. And no, I don't mean that I lead with Adonis. I straight up use Adonis for the entire fight. Clearly still hung up on the whole beaten by a little Piplup thing, Adonis takes out some of that insecurity against Aaron's bugs. Fire Punch clocks Yanmega, and then Earthquake does super effective damage against Drapion, who does survive 1 hit but never threatens with a kill in return. So after that, Donnie proceeds to sweep through Heracross, Vespiquen, and Scizor with the same bloody, blistering, and burning fist that he's been using all playthrough long. It was truly a vicious showing, but I liked it. In contrast though, Mickey did not. He's not a fan of sitting on the sidelines, so as not to be outdone by his simian sibling, it's he who takes on Bertha, starting first with a Leaf Blade that slices through our foe's floppy fish like a perfectly cooked fish fillet. Pretty close to literal with that one. From there, Glysaur joins the scene, and once more Mickey goes for a quad-effective move, this time an Expert Belt boosted Ice Punch that clobbers the Flying Scorpion. Glysaur is low-key one of the most terrifying Pokemon there is, right? Like, a Flying Scorpion would be horrifying in real life. Anyways, a second Oko paves the way for the real hurdle of the fight, Hippowdon. We are not one-shotting this thing. She's too bulky, and what's worse is that she's going to yawn on the next turn to make everything significantly harder. Or Mikey is just gonna crit with his Leaf Blade. What a showboat. Well, with that, Leaf Blades blast through Bertha's remaining 2 Pokemon, so now there's only 2 more members of the Elite Four left. But really there's only 1 because Adonis comes in for another clean sweep against Flint, this time with Expert Belt boosted Earthquakes. Sorry Mickey, it seems that the 1-upper has become the 1-up-P. And unfortunately, Mickey's not gonna get a chance to match that because the final member of the Elite Four was never ever gonna be a full sweep. Lucian is a Psychic-type trainer, providing my team with our first major type disadvantage since Fantina way back in Hearthome City. The good news is that we have 2 Pokemon who take neutral damage, and another that is almost inarguably the best Pokemon in the entire game. Adonis continues his hot streak, pun intended, by opening up against Mr. Mime and taking the KO on the physically frail freak with a super effective Shadow Claw. Espeon is next and a bit bulkier than Lucian's French lead, so in order to ensure the KO, Adonis uses the move Fling to hurdle his held Razor Fang at the all-knowing feline, guaranteeing a solid chunk of super effective Dark-type damage and causing a flinch. With that chip, our Shadow Claw now guarantees the knockout and critically brings in Alakazam third, since Donnie is the only one of our Pokemon who's fast enough to take him out before he can rip powerful attacks. By taking the kill with U-turn, it also lets me bring in Daniel for free, who baits out Bronzong. And Lucian plays right into my hand here, as LaRusso hits a nasty Fire Punch before our foe sets up with a Calm Mind that will never pay off. One more Fire Punch means that our foe only has one Pokemon left, his very own Gallade. Daniel stays in and rips a Zen Headbutt, which not only does well over half of our foe's HP, but after Gallade eats his Citrus Berry, it also causes a flinch. Now that's actually a bit awkward because it procs Gallade's Steadfast ability, meaning that our foe gets a speed boost and can therefore move first on the following turn. Fortunately, a Psycho Cut isn't enough for the kill, even were it to crit, and with another wide lens supported Zen Headbutt, we score what appears to be a high roll for the clean KO. You know what, Daniel? You're all right, kid. With that, only the champion Cynthia stands between us and the Hall of Fame. Though with a range of ways to hit us for big damage, this final fight is going to take everything we've got. Our entire journey has built up to this moment. Cynthia was the ultimate opponent. I just hope that now that we're here, everyone can rise up to the occasion. Cynthia leads with her Spiritomb and I send in Jake. He's our best bet against the Ghost type since he can rip a Guts-boosted, wide lens supported 120 base power Mega Horn. That Spiritomb survives thanks to a brutal low roll. And then I have to relive one of the worst moments in my entire Nuzlocke career. Cynthia's Spiritomb rips a Psychic and gets the critical hit. I can't believe that this is happening again. Now, unlike during the Fire-type only run, this wasn't an immediate wipe, but things just got significantly harder. Jake wasn't supposed to die there. We needed so much more from him than just a single Mega Horn, which will be effectively made moot as Cynthia heals on the following turn. After bastardizing Donnie's moveset to deal with the Lucian fight, I have very few Pokemon that can deal solid damage against Jake's killer. Knowing who I need to save so that I can deal with the rest of Cynthia's team, I decide to bring in Daniel. As Cynthia heals, our Ice Punch is never getting the 2-shot, so we'll need to tank a Shadow Ball in the process of getting this kill. As Shadow Ball hits and the kid's HP bar plummets, I fear we're looking at another critical hit. But Daniel survives with 22 HP to spare. So our third Ice Punch comes out, and once again, the damn spirit survives with just a sliver, letting her take the second unexpected KO of the fight. The scoreboard is now 2-0 Cynthia, and I can feel this victory quickly slipping away. My team has never been in this tricky of a situation, and without the experience of performing under pressure, this is looking very bad. For now, Mickey comes in to avenge his fallen Psychic-type brother, though this then brings in Togekiss, who's arguably even scarier than Spiritomb thanks to his stab air slashes. This is a make-or-break moment for us, and Mickey knows it. Sinking an Ice Punch into the fluffy flesh of Togekiss, he does just about 50%. But then, the unthinkable happens. Little Mickey Ward from Lowell, Massachusetts gets the freeze. And since Togekiss stays a popsicle, we are able to get the KO with Mickey at full freaking HP, opting for stab close combat here to ensure just a touch more damage. Suddenly, the scoreboard is now tied. 4 Pokemon remain on each side as Cynthia brings in her Shadow Balling Lucario. So I send in James, who proves no match for his doppelganger as a nasty close combat gets the third KO. For the first time in the match, we had the advantage and Cynthia was down to the back half of her team. But this next one's absolutely not going down without a fight. Cynthia's deadly Garchomp threatens with both Flamethrower and Earthquake here, so I have no choice. I make the difficult decision to fire off an extreme speed for some much needed chip and watch as Garchomp torches James to a crisp. Our third friend falls and the score is tied up once more. To beat this fiendish dragon, I need a hero. and that hero is Mark. He's absolutely not surviving 2 hits from Garchomp, but you know what he is doing? Surviving 1 Earthquake, landing a no-guard Rock Tomb to gain the speed advantage, and punching Garchomp into the dirt with a single quad-effective Ice Punch. Mark may not have done much for most of the playthrough, but when we needed him most, he was there. Though there's no time to celebrate quite yet, because Cynthia still has 2 incredibly powerful teammates left. The first is Roserade, and expecting an extra sensory, I switch to Mickey, though it's actually an energy ball that hits hard as he comes in. Fortunately, we can outspeed and take the kill with a single Psycho Cut, bringing Cynthia down to her final Pokemon, Milotic. So here we are, both Pokemon on the field, dead to a critical hit from the other, and with nowhere to go. What happens on this turn will determine Mickey's legacy. Is he strong enough to rise to the occasion and live, or will he fall in the 11th hour and be delegated to being but another death on the ever-growing list of fallen soldiers in the annals of Flygon HG history? Mickey rips a Leaf Blade, attempting to land a critical hit, but Milotic survives. It's now her turn to hope for a crit as Surf crashes down in the ever-resilient Mickey, who survives with 28 HP. With 1 last Leaf Blade, Milotic falls, finally winning us not just the extremely deadly battle against Cynthia, but the entire run. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Fighting types are some of the strongest Pokemon in the game, so I was pretty stunned to see how close it came there at the end. Also, I did record this when being a little sick, so I apologize if the audio is a bit off for this video. If you enjoyed watching though, be sure to leave a like, hype the video, and subscribe to the channel. Or don't, I don't know. But stay tuned for more Nuzlocke content, and until then, remember to always, always, always play around the critical hit.